Well, one very important thing in politics is the opposition, the power of opposition in every civilized world. We see oppositions anywhere there is an election, anywhere there is an interest, we normally hear of oppositions. But then, how vital is the existence of opposition as far as governance is concerned? Political development, opposition politics, okay, as a factor. That's our topic of discussion for today. And joining me on the conversation is my guest, who is already seated right here, Dr. Okey Ezugwu. He is a lawyer and a public affairs analyst. It's good to have you in the studio this morning. Happy New Year. Yes, I've not seen a sir. You're looking very fresh this New Year. You know,
I went to the countryside.
Yeah, well, no wonder, no wonder. So all of us should prepare and go get to the countryside,
I went to the countryside
next year
to free them.
That's good.
And of course, the other attractions, palm wine and the rest of them.
Oh my God. All right, as a matter of fact, it's good to have all of you join us on the conversation today as we look at very important things, political development, and we're looking at opposition politics as a factor. Every nation, especially in Nigeria, in every election, there are always oppositions. Like we have the APC as the sitting government right now. We have the PDP, we have the Labour Party, we have NNPP, we have the Action Congress, and a whole lot of other parties who are oppositions. But then there is something that Nigerians will always think of when you mention opposition. The first thing that comes to their mind is PDP, because the People's Democratic Party was actually in power for 16 years before APC came into office. Right now, let's talk about this a little bit. Do you see opposition importance in governance?
Yes, of course. Without opposition, it will be a field day for the parties. It's always like that in every political climate. Their roles are there. I mean, the moment you don't have a vibrant opposition, then you're risking a situation where government does what it wants. It doesn't matter how the people feel about it. They don't care to account for anybody. They don't feel the pulse of anybody. It's only the opposition politics, opposition political parties that reminds them that, look, you owe us a responsibility. You owe us a responsibility. It's an obligation. The people elected you there, and this is what we expect from you. It's the opposition party that tells them that. Because it looks like the Nigerian political climate is a theater of the absurd. You know, when people get into the seat of power, it looks like all their projections prior to the elections and their winning and all of that becomes the thing wipes away from their brain. And that's where the opposition political parties need to be handy to keep reminding them that you all account for us. We need good governance from you. You must tell us exactly what you're doing. You must be transparent in your actions. There must be checks and balances. And it is only the opposition political parties that can do that.
But have we really had results from opposition in the past? Have they actually put any government on their toes in the past? Have we had results in the past from opposition parties?
Well, like I said earlier, the Nigerian political scene is a theater of the absurd because the political actors don't even appear to know what it takes to be. Many of them actually don't know why they're in politics. Then you need to identify why you're in politics, either through the ideology you profess or any other belief system you profess. And then you now say, okay, let me get into politics to be able to say, okay, sell this idea, stand by it, project it, push for it, so that by the time you get into government, it becomes an institution, institutionalize it. But we're not having it in our own system. What we're having here, there are too many masquerades, you know. in the system. Today, somebody comes up to be talks socialism, or he wants you to believe that he cares so much for the masses. Tomorrow he's the other side talking. Somebody tells you today he's a civil rights activist, without prejudice to the contribution of the civil society to what we are doing whatever is happening in the country. We've seen situations where even people who profess to be activists, come up with all manner of theories and all that. But the moment you give them a position in government, the game changes. So to that extent, it becomes a situation where you can't really say whether there is opposition politics, because they double talk at the same time. Somebody says something this year, next year he says another thing. Those who played part in the politics of 2009 to 2015, obviously the PDP years. Today, many of them are in APC. Today, some of them are in other parties, projecting whatever. So there are too many masquerades there. They don't even know their ideology. They don't know what they are professing. Many of them are in politics because they feel it's about the profession or occupation that any charlatan can just get in there. And then when you get in there and you begin to make more noise and all of that, you probably will be recognized and you begin to have spaces in government. But beyond that, if we are looking at it from the point of real politics, I can tell you practically that we are not having opposition in real times. Yes.
All right, we are not having a position in real times. You talked about the issue of people in PDP, now in APC and all of that. The issue of cross-carpeting, moving from one political party to the other. Do you see it as a challenge in our political system?
It's a very big challenge. It's a very big challenge because when you look at other jurisdictions, you have the US, for instance, you have UK, Russia, China, and some other countries where you have stable democracies. What we see here is that whether election is taking place or not, the parties are there, functioning. It doesn't matter whether there's an election to prosecute. You can't say the same thing with our own now, where as soon as the election takes place, the parties go to sleep. Now the space will be there for only the political, the winners now, to parade themselves. Now, when it is about a year or two to the next election, now they'll start assembling again to prosecute the next election, and after that they go away again. So what I'm saying is, just like everything Nigerian, where we don't have strong institutions, and when we don't crave for it, because those in government who are today in government should crave for strong institutions, because it is not likely that they will be there over the years or remain there forever. Just like the PDP had their own baptism the other time. So, if we have a strong institution, whereby whether we have an election or not to prosecute, the parties are functioning. Obviously, these defections you are talking about will not be there. And like I said earlier, the politicians themselves are confused because they don't even know where they belong. That is the only reason why somebody who professes to be a Labour Party enthusiast, for instance, jumps up tomorrow and join conservative groups like any other. Because the Labour movement has a history. The ingredients of Labour unionism are embedded, they are out there in public spaces. And it's expected that before you come out and say, okay, I'm a Labour Party man or something, you already must have imbibed some of the tenets of those ingredients. And when you get them, whether you are suffering, and in fact, as far as I'm concerned, staking out your neck, whether you're suffering or not, even at the risk of being hungry, or your family going hungry, or your circle going hungry, just to make sure that you project all those things you believe in. That is one of the things that we should be looking at. Not just a situation where the moment a party loses an election, half of the number moves to the next. So what are they telling us exactly? As a matter of fact, that is why many Nigerian politicians don't have respect. They don't have respect. Secondly, there is clear absence of internal democracy. They don't have it. You need to know what democracy means before you begin to walk around it and you need to institutionalize it. Whereby somebody is looking up to a governor to decide who becomes what. Local government chairman, councillorship, or whatever. Member of the House of Assembly. If the governor is not backing you, you can't win a ordinary primary, no matter how popular you are. It's the same thing at the center too. Everybody is claiming to have the eye of the Mr. President. Oh, I'm with you, Mr. President. I'm working more than every other person for you. Oh, I'm going to deliver. I'm all that and all that. Even at the risk of sacrificing everything civil.
All right. You said something about the fact that political parties go to sleep when elections are over. Is there anything that can be done constitutionally to say, okay, let me just put it this way. How would it look like if it's been said that any political party that does not stand the test of time, standing the test of time that I mean is whether there is an election or not, you need to be up and doing. We need to fill your purse all through the period of governance of the ruling party. Is there anything that you think can be done to make sure these parties are active? Because about 18 to 21 political parties that we have, even when you go to the ballots, you just see the major parties. You know, even though there are ballot boxes, you just see the major parties, the APC, PDP, Labour Party came up this election in 2023, and it was also there in NNPP and all that. So is there anything that can be done, or do you think it's even necessary to make them stay up and doing even when there is nothing happening, when they don't have portfolio, when they don't have funding and all of that? Is it possible? Is it sustainable?
I'm saying you can only drag a willing horse. When a horse decides he's not going anywhere, well, you probably will force it to. But that does not change the dynamics of that movement, which is that he doesn't want to go. Now, we're having a situation where our politicians are just there. There's no discipline among them. A lot of them, not a lot of them now. I wouldn't exaggerate. Many of them don't have shame. The value system attached to political office holding is such that the more odd activities, more it is around them, the better it appears the public appreciates them more. Especially when poverty alleviation things are coming to them, no matter how it happens, whether it is their money allocated to one of their projects that have been used to buy those things for them, it doesn't really matter to them.
Because there is hunger, probably.
Yes, and of course this hunger thing is a political weapon which appears to have crept into our system practically. Look at what happened during the Christmas. Every politician was comfortable buying rice, buying this, distributing to the people, and what's the quantity they were distributing? If you give a family of 5 a bag of rice, you've just kick-started a hunger strike, because within a few days it's gone. And then they will be back to square one. What the money we are talking about, they're all masquerading around, trying to make everybody believe that they care so much for the people. What can't they really galvanize this fund and think of things that can generate employment, like factories, industries, SMEs, and small areas like that? But because all their thoughts are on elections, they're not bothered about any other thing. It's election. Even all they did during the Christmas, they were distributing, the same thing will happen during Salah, they will still do the same thing. It is geared towards bribing the electors for elections. It's not as if they care so much for them. It's not as if they care. And because, like I said, our politicians are so gullible. For all they care, it is survival. It is survival. Political survival. They don't care what anybody thinks about them. Today you are holding a meeting, a political meeting. You say you are probably SDP, you are holding a political meeting. And then you are the leader of the party in your ward, for instance. After about 1 year or two, after an election, you jump ship to the next political party. And you start holding meetings with another political party and their supporters. And that's always not the end of the game, because the moment you start jumping, you keep jumping. You could still jump the next one. But the question you ask yourself is, how are we, the electors ourselves, how are we viewing such politicians who do such things? We don't care, as long as something is coming out from there. Look, if you want to rent 1 million people now, if you have the fund, just go out there. Before the next 30 minutes, all over the place. And that is what the politicians are enjoying, and that is what they have made up their mind to do. People, since you don't have at all, just like you woke up this morning and you don't have 1 naira to eat. And all of a sudden somebody say, take this 3,000 naira, go and stand at Use Market there. Chances that you say no is not there. So the distortions are so much, and they are being institutionalized deliberately, of course. Not as if it's an accident of fate, no?
Do you see PDP and Labour Party really giving APC a run for their money? Are they good in position? Are they carrying out? Because that the other parties are sleeping. At least Atiku has been talking, Peter Obi has been talking, and of course APC on their own part has been countering whatever it is they are saying. Do you see APC, PDP, I beg your pardon, and Labour Party really giving APC a run for their money? Are they doing a good opposition, the assignment of opposition party? Your thoughts?
Well, let me conjecture a little bit. First of all, because of the nature of our politicians, that's why I came up with this idea that they are not disciplined. And they don't have shame. Are you getting me? Imagine if you are approached today, for instance, if there is a political, if all of us from a political party now, and we say, okay, we are about 200 of us. And then we have a meeting today and say, okay, we are going to do a protest, or we are going to say something that, of course, that is not going to favor the government. The government will definitely not like or something. By the time the government gets to hear about this, you know the next thing that will happen? All they need to do is call 1, 2, 3, 4 of the people that attended that meeting. Mr. President, or Mr. Governor, or Mr. Chairman, or this person want to see you. And that saves it. Call the meeting tomorrow. Another meeting tomorrow. You're not likely going to see half of that number. That crossed over already. So with that kind of scenario, so where do we really start at when we talk of opposition politics? Because government or the party in power can effectively and completely decimate a political party by ensuring that there is no meeting point among the members. They always factionalize. Yeah, it doesn't take anything to factionalize. In the days of social network, two people can just gather and raise, go into a press conference tomorrow, and then start a story. And before you know it, the courts are there. They will go to court and begin to challenge 1 or 2 things. And before you know it, they start appointing their own chairman and all that. And the papers will be reporting them. Are you getting me? And as long as those issues are in court, of course the court must adjudicate over whatever is before them. Court will say no. And those behind, the shadow directors, will be behind, funding all the crisis here and there. And that's why it looks like we don't have stable opposition. So, assuming the opposition parties are in good stead and their backers or their managers knows what they are doing, they will have been able to say, look, this thing you are giving me or this thing you are offering me, I will not take it. Because of what? Because of the interest of my party and interest of the Nigerian public. Well, they don't have such in their brain. They don't. Just personal survival. That is the problem. So, if that, going to your question practically, if you are talking about whether PDP or Labour Party, whether they are providing an opposition, well, to an extent, yes, because at least once in a while we hear some, somebody projecting something that looks like an alternative solution to what we have on ground. You understand? Now, whether the government is taking it is another thing. And when another government reacts to it, it's a completely different thing too. Because in a healthy environment, when an opposition party comes around and say, hey, come on, you are doing this wrong, you are doing this wrong, you are doing this. What you do is not attack. What you do is to convince whoever, either the political party or the people who are projecting all those options, that look, what you're saying is wrong, and this is why we are saying this. And begin to adumbrate on all those, talk about them, so that people will begin to appreciate you, not attacking the person. You know, we've had a lot of drama in the last few days about, one or two cases like that. And it's not right for our democracy.
And it's not right for our democracy. Then let's look at this administration. What's your assessment of this administration, a holistic assessment of this administration? Because I know everyone have different perspective of this administration. As a matter of fact, the president in his speech, in his chat, in January, beginning the year, he has said a lot of things. And even the coordinating minister of the economy, until today, is still saying the economy is picking up. Some economists have said, well, we are on the right track. Some other persons have said, hey, come on, we are not getting it right. IMF, World Bank, your suggestions are not in line with what our economy, the language our economy is speaking. And these are different perspectives from different experts and stakeholders. On your own part, what do you think generally of this administration?
Well, I like the optimism that the present government, the government is expressing. That we should be looking forward to something better. It's not unexpected anyway for any government. Of course, you can't wake up and tell Nigerians that all these things we are doing that we are not going to get anything out of it. So if to the extent that they are expressing optimism, fine and good. But I'm only worried about the facts on the ground. Like I told you, some of us went to the countryside during the holidays, and the situation is something else. You understand? There is hunger in the land. You see, academic drama on televisions and the rest of them, most cases don't transform to real things. When it has to do with the welfare of the people. I'm not writing off what government is doing. Like I said, I appreciate the optimism. And like every war general, which the Mr. President is marshalling out his plans and all that, and he's making us to believe that we are getting somewhere. Well, let's see, let's wait and see. It will be difficult for me to begin to assess them on the basis of developmental strides or something. But my problem is that democracy appears to be going down the drain in the country. That is where I am much more worried. The components of the ruling party from 2014 or thereabout, when the party was formed and all that, they showed every flash of a democratically organized group, and people who are out there to make sure that in a couple of years Nigeria will go to places and our democracy will become institutionalized in real terms. That's the impression I had, and of course I am sure many people had that impression. Well, I must tell you that not many still stand by that position. Government appears very intolerant of positions. People are not really saying what they want to say. The agents of states appears, some of them, so to say, appears to have become part of some of the parties, as it were, and are exhibiting some of their idiosyncrasies openly in a manner that ordinarily shouldn't be. Excuse me. I'm thinking that a democratic general like Mr. President should be able to, galvanize a lot of so much political goodwill that will ensure that by the time he finishes his tenure, either this time or wherever, that Nigeria would have had a very strong institution and very strong institutions, so that the kind of distortions and jumbled arrangements we are witnessing every day here will become a thing of the past. Because if he fails to achieve that, I'm sorry, all the time he spent in the jungle fighting, military rule, fighting authoritarian rules and all of them, would have become pretentious. That's what I feel. But he has the capacity to do what I've just said, if he decides to do it.
He has the capacity to do what he has just said, and it's a turnaround process. It's something that can be done and achievable. But then when we talk about opposition, most opposition comes from parties, or maybe civil society organizations, Nigerians, unions can also come as opposition.
Well, it doesn't have to be from the political parties. It can be from any citizen. Any citizen can wake up, and if you feel that something is wrong, or even when things are right, you can commend the government. And then if you think government should strengthen their position to get it better, you can as well suggest that to government. It's the part of the...
But would they hear? That's where the problem is.
That's a different ball game now. Now, the opposition generally, the truth, I must be honest to you, is that a lot of persons, so many people are scared. Even those who have the best knowledge, who are ready to offer their services, most cases they enter. At a stage there was this idea that hey, those elites, academics, professors, the rest of them, doctors and the rest of them, that they should get into political parties thinking that it will change anything. None of them got in there. But the problem is that by the time you get in there, you will be confronting a group of persons who are not as literate as you are, but who have capacity, especially when it has to do with finances, and makes it impossible for you to contribute to anything. Two, the conduct of the so-called academic or whatever, the professors and the rest of them, their conduct, even when some of them were given positions in government, like we've seen situations where many of them got enmeshed in controversies surrounding elections and all of that. Some of them were returning officers in elections, some of them were whatever in elections, and many of them ended up disappointing themselves and making a mockery of whatever credibility or integrity you think that somebody who went to school could have.
Well, I think I love the aspect when you say disappointed themselves. And not
themselves, not Nigerians. They disappointed themselves.
All right, they disappointed themselves and not Nigerians. Well, it's been a very beautiful time. It's still Global Morning right here, and the discourse is still on. I have my guest in the studio right here, and we're looking at something very important. In politics, so many things happen. But then, before I let you go, we're rounding up now. As far as the judicial system is concerned in Nigeria, the judiciary became very popular after the 2023 election. Not that the judiciary is not popular in Nigeria, but then the popularity became very, very high after the 2023 election, where we even had a slogan: if you don't want it, go to court. Now, how would you say, well, the judiciary, how well have they done so far as it has to do with opposition? Because the judiciary, they said, is the last hope of the common man. So the judiciary should not also fold their arms when things are going wrong in governance that is affecting the people negatively. So what's your assessment of the judiciary as far as opposition and governance is concerned?
Well, as a lawyer, I must tell you that what the public really see, sometimes perception in the public, most cases, they are not things you see in the courts. You understand? The public, most cases, as a lawyer I'm talking about now, most cases, the public have their idea that, oh, this person won an election, this person lost an election, or this person this. They will have conjecture everywhere. They will have packaged themselves, made up their mind that this is the way it is. So if he gets to court, if that matter gets to court and he fails to go their way, of course they will say the judiciary has compromised. I'm getting me now. Two, there are facts. I mean, judges actually, or anybody who is adjudicating over a matter, works with whatever he's able to see on his table. It's not what he hears, because in most cases you don't expect them to go into the arena to begin to make inquiries about what exactly happened. Is it true that this man won or lost? Is it true that whatever misgiving or whatever you have as an evidence, either for or against, should be something you package very well, lay the foundation very well, and then put it before the courts. Having said that, and that is to say that is what court will be concerned about, not whatever happened outside, which of course the public will always have their opinion. You understand? Having said that, I mean, just like every institution in Nigeria, there's no way you can get 100% mark in terms of the performance of judges. You must have a situation where, like human beings, some of them might get distracted, in quotes, and then begin to do what they think or convinced they ought to do. If there's any external factor that is propelling them to do that, well, I'm not in a position to say now. But like I said, every judge has a right to give judgment based on what is before him or her. Whether that whatever he gives is good enough for the public who thinks he should go the other way is a different ballgame. But like as I said, human beings. That's why. Let me tell you. Have you imagined that we have magistrate courts, we have high courts, we have court of appeal, we have Supreme Court. Those that structured this were not stupid. They knew what they were doing. And that is to ensure that at every stage, it is expected that this matter should go from one ladder to the other, so that if there is any slip from this side, the other one should be able to, repackage it. And that's how it is until we get to the Supreme Court that now has the final word on it. That is not even to say that they are not God. I mean, the Supreme Court, they are human beings too. And they are using the same brain you're using. So, It's not a must. I mean, you can't say categorically that the Supreme Court itself cannot even have a sleep. And that is why sometimes over time you see them overruling themselves over a position they have taken in the past, and then a matter come up, the same matter, probably material facts come up again, and you see them now coming up to say, okay, in 1980 it used to be this, now we think it should be this. That's why the human beings too. You understand? So it will be difficult for anyone to come and say the judiciary have done this and no. You can't write them off. What?
All right. The judiciary, some Nigerians believe, is no longer the hope of the common man, the last hope of the common man. But he is saying, doctor is saying, well, whether you like it or not, what you see inside the court is different from what people, the perspective of people, the perception of people outside the court. It's so nice having you on Global Morning today. Thank you for coming. Time is up already. We can't continue the conversation, but it has been a very wonderful time. And of course, this is the size of the program this morning. It's been Global Morning. And of course, we have other programs lined up for you this weekend. It is Saturday, of course, and we want to wish you a very wonderful weekend. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Thanks for keeping a date with us. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
If you don't say we have some more stories,
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.